Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed Shlita. We find ourselves midweek getting closer and closer to the Yom Hadin. We are all preparing accordingly, I hope, but please continue davening for Chaylei Tzvah and Yisrael, for Shalom L'chol Petzuei Yisrael, safe return of our hostages, and we learn each day L'ilei Nishmat Seren, Daniel Shimon ben Harav Duron V'Shel Yishem Kam Damo. Next chapter is Zechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim. Mitzvah mehaTorah l'zkor Yitzias Mitzrayim Chol Yom. So there is a Torah commandment that one has to remember the Exodus every day. Shneimar l'ma'an tizgar es yom tzeisecha me'eretz Mitzrayim kol yimei chayecha. Pasuk says in Devarim that you have to remember the Exodus every day of your life. V'darshu chachamim mahamila kol, and Chazal, they have a drasha in the Gemara in Brachos Daf Yud Beis that the word kol means shamitzvah l'zkor Yitzias Mitzrayim b'yom uva layla. That it means you have to remember both in the day and in the nighttime. You might think this is a little familiar, of course, of the great passages that we find in the Haggadah. You can fulfill this mitzvah if you mention any pasuk that mentions the Exodus, or even if you just say it in your own language, you remember the Exodus. I remember that Hashem took us out of Egypt. Tiknu chachamim likras parshas Vayomer k'dei l'kayim al yodeh es mitzvah zechiras yitzias Mitzrayim. Chazal, in order to fulfill this mitzvah, so they instituted the third chapter of Shema, Vayomer, Parsha of Tzitzis, because it has in it the mention of the Exodus. Nimsa, sheshtei sibu sevil etzrufa shel Parsha of Vayomer l'kriyas Shema. So it comes out that there are two reasons to include the Parsha, the third Parsha of Vayomer, to Kriyas Shema. Ha'achas, the first one is, sheish ba mitzvah tzitzis shemaskiras kol ha-mitzvot, that you have the mitzvah of Tzitzis, which reminds us of all the mitzvahs, and Hashni, and the second, Shenizkara ba Yitzias Mitzrayim, because we have the mention of the Exodus. Lakach noagin likro vayomer gam balayla. That's why we say the parsha of Tzitzis at night. Ki af shemitzad mitzvahs Tzitzis ein makom l'amar balayla. You would say, well, if this is the parsha of Tzitzis, and Tzitzis is not fulfilled at nighttime, so why would we mention that paragraph at nighttime? Mikal makom mitzad askaras Yitzias Mitzrayim yesh makom likora balayla. But since we have to remind ourselves of the Exodus at nighttime as well, so therefore we have this chapter recited. Havdel yeshno ben mitzvahs kriyas shema lemitzvahs zechiras yitzias Mitzrayim. There is a difference between the mitzvah of kriyas shema and the mitzvah of remembering the Exodus. Shetz mitzvahs kriyas shema shel yom afshel l'kaim rak b'shalosh hashos harishona shel hayom. The mitzvah of kriyas shema, we have something called zman kriyas shema, which has to be part of the first 3 hours of the halachic day, halachic hours, because that's when we wake up from sleep. But the mitzvah of remembering the Exodus one can do for the entirety of the day. Also in Kriyas, but according to the institution of Chazal, we fulfill it with the recitation of Kriyas Shema. And if the time of Kriyas Shema has passed, so then you will fulfill the mitzvah of remembering the Exodus when you say the bracha of emes v'yatziv. And if the time of Tefillah passes and 4 hours have passed, then you could find a different way to fulfill the mitzvah by saying Vayomer or some other way of mentioning the Exodus. But nonetheless, of course, we have it built in to fulfill this mitzvah. So lots of mitzvahs that take place. So Kriyas Shema, which is a deoraisa on many levels, but also you have this added element of remembering the Exodus. Not to be confused, by the way, with on Pesach we have something called Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim. So a lot of Torah is spent analyzing the difference between telling over the story of the Exodus and just simply remembering the Exodus, Zechira versus Sipur. But perhaps that's not for this holiday coming up of Rosh Hashanah, but rather it is for Pesach. But I will leave you with this question. Here's a question for our loyal listeners out there. We always mention on Shabbos at Kiddush, Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim. Every holiday is Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim. So I understand Pesach, Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim. I understand Sukkot. When we say in Rosh Hashanah, we're going to say in davening and Kiddush, we also mention Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim. Why is there a Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim? What does the commemoration of the Exodus have to do with Rosh Hashanah? I'll just leave that as an open question, and you can feel free to write in, or if you see me, let me know, and we'll see if we get such a good answer to this question. But in the meantime, please continue davening for Chaylei Tzvah and Yisrael, for Shalom L'chol Petzuei Yisrael, the safe return of our hostages. Nishmat Seren, Daniel Shimon ben Harav Duron V'Shel Yishem Kam Damo. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day, and we'll see you here next time.